Well, hello everyone. Thanks for checking out this video. Now, it's been quite a while since my last video release. I think this is the longest I've gone between video releases since I've been doing this channel. So let me get you up to speed on what I've been working on. Alright guys, so as usual, I'm in the cockpit here. Now, I feel like I've been back here forever, and I probably have been. But this year, it's going to start off with being back here again. Now, as you can see, I removed the door behind me that I had been working on. That and a bunch of other small projects I've decided to just put on hold for now, because I want to take advantage of the cooler spring weather from March and April to get started on this engine compartment area back here. So the main focus of this video is removing of the engine beds, and that's the only thing I really filmed as far as working back here. But I did a lot of other prep work, and I'm going to go over all that before I show the engine bed removals, and then what I've done since I removed the engine beds. And then you guys will be up to speed. So let me show you what I've been up to. Alright everyone, so the question is, what have I been up to since my last video? I actually removed the center piece that was here. I took all the hatches out and brought those home. And I had to build this bridge. Now I had these two pieces already. There's like two halves. I just joined them in the middle here, so I can get in and out of the boat without going up and down stairs and things. Because what I'm working on, and I mentioned I was going to be doing this, is all this area down here. I'm grinding it all in preparation of fiberglassing it in about a month or so. I totally forgot about that. It was a piece of plywood that comes down just in the center here, went all the way down to the bottom of the hull. And fiberglass was really bad on that, and water got in there and grease and everything else and kind of rotted all that, so I cut it off, and I forgot that I had to replace that. So I realized that when I took everything off here while I was grinding stuff. So today I'm gonna probably cut it, get my finger out of the focus, but I'm gonna cut it up here at the top of these things and just put a piece of plywood on that whole area, similar to what I did at the mufflers here. If you remember that, if you've been following along. I'm also going to remove this through hull. That was for the drainage system for the hatches. It didn't work at all. I think it was owner installed, and it just didn't work. I'm going to put through holes on each side down in the corners back there for each side of the boat. So I got to take that out too and clean that up and fiberglass over that. I'm going to take out these engine beds. There's one with the plywood on it. I have to remove that plywood and do that, and clean up all this area and grind all this down, because I'm going to be fiberglassing everything back here that hasn't been fiberglassed already, which is everything except for like the fuel tank area right there, which I did last year. I'm cleaning basically down in here now, and I've already cleaned this a long time ago when I pulled the engines out, and that was with more of a putty knife, scraping gunk off, 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thick. But what's left is this really dark stuff on the side here, because this whole area was filled up with grease and water and stuff, and it just clung to all of that area and everywhere else. So I just wanted to show this darker area here, because it's kind of how this entire stringer and everything in here was. So it's kind of like the last patch I really have to scrub to get at least halfway decent. I still have to do all down in here where this bottle is. And I'm using Simple Green and some scrub brushes. Alright, well, I couldn't help myself. I didn't bring my camera gear today. I just came over here to measure these and see what the dimensions were, so I would have a record of it. I said, well, I'm all here, I might as well try to remove this engine bed. This is on the starboard side. And what holds them on, I'll show you on this one over here. There's 4 of these bolts right here. They just go through the stringer. And there's a washer on the other side. But as you can see, I just pulled this off and haven't touched it, basically, just to show you guys how bad it is. And you can see how the plywood, 1/2 inch plywood shim, basically, that was nailed on there, is basically gone. You can see the nails there. And of course the engine bed itself is totally rotted away too. So these things definitely need to be replaced. I'll film taking these other ones off. So I couldn't get that nut off because the bolt threads were kind of messed up on the end here. So I decided to trim them off with this oscillating saw. But it ended up turning out to be a 7-minute battle, so I wish I had remembered to bring my Sawzall that day. Well, believe it or not, this last one was even worse than the one I just did when I had to cut it off. I started cutting it with my oscillating saw. I tried cutting it in this way, and I just said, oh, I'll just try this on here, because it's basically all rotted away. But there was enough beef on this part that I can just actually, it actually works, and it's actually coming off. Now here it is after a bit of a vacuum, and wasn't too bad. But one of the things I noticed on the other side, and this side too, there's this limber hole right here, and the actual engine bed didn't have a hole cut there, so those were blocked. And the reason why, they have two of them there, but the reason why they put this one in, I think, is because they had the fuel tank support right in the middle here, with no limber hole on this side. It was just right up against here. But I think I'm gonna just probably cut a limber hole in the new fuel tank support when I get it, or when I make it, and I think I'll just fill these in and then fiberglass over those, because you don't really need two. You've got this one here, so anyways, that's probably kind of a weak point of the stringer anyways, because it's very narrow here. Probably like 2 inches. So I'd rather fill that in. You got it bolted right next to it, so yeah, probably not a good strong spot in the stringer. So that's it. Next thing to do is going to be to take off these larger ones They're held down with the same 4 bolts, and those are kind of coated with grease because all the grease from the engine kind of went down, and it's all underneath there. So I'm thinking those bolts might come off easier. I don't know. Okay, so the goal for today is to remove these final 2 engine beds, and I forgot on these what the extra step I have to do, because somebody put some fiberglass on here at one time to try to mitigate the issues of the water infiltration. I pulled off a couple of pieces of it here. The wood isn't actually stuck to it. I already pried it a little bit. It's not really stuck to it, but I'm just going to go along the edge with my oscillating tool and cut that away just in case there is some areas that are hung up on it or actually attached to it. So I got to do that on both sides. Here first. This thing is going to be really bad, I could tell. I can't wait to pull this off, because this thing was just going right into it like there was nothing there. Oh my god. Anyways, I'm going to do this side, clean it up a little bit, and then start taking the beds off. Alright, so that wasn't very difficult. Didn't take more than like 15 minutes to cut those off. This side here, as I went along, I was actually prying at the fiberglass piece to make sure it was away from this, and these huge chunks were coming off. It wasn't even attached very good to the actual top of the stringer, and this is their repair. So that's why this side is a lot cleaner than the other side over here. But as expected, everything is just all this plywood shim in here is just totally gone. I mean, totally gone. And yeah. So now we'll top these off and see what we got. And there's the thing of beauty. Oh my god. It's totally cracked right here. All the way down. Alright, now that might be where I was using the Sawzall. It's not cracked. But it's quite rotted. I can tell you that for a fact. Alright, so before I move on to the other side, I removed all the plywood that was loose on this side. And you can see it's all piled up underneath here. And it came off pretty quick and pretty easy. And then I pulled all the little ring shank nails that were holding the plywood on that were sticking out. But I just wanted to show you the condition of the actual engine bed itself. It's pretty bad, as expected. And so now I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. I want to save it, just because it has an angle. I'll show you. I'll come around this way. Has an angle on the bottom. Yeah, maybe I can. Yeah, I want to kind of copy that in the future and for the length and everything, just to save it until I'm done with the new ones, and then I'll get rid of it. But it stinks pretty bad because of all the grease and stuff. And then I guess I'll show you this side. I haven't cleaned any of this up yet, and you can see the grease down near the bottom. There's just like one layer of plywood still on there, here and there, because it's just stuck very loosely with some dabs of sealant, whatever they used to put that on there. But it'll just come right off like that. So anyways, that's where I'm at. I'll clean all this mess up, and then we'll move on, and I'll film removing the other side, because when I looked at the film of this side, I was a little bit, I didn't have it framed up very good. I didn't think so. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for the engine bed removal video here. The only thing left to do now is to just clean these up a little, pull the nails out, get them in my car and get them home so they're out of my way. And I'll use them for templates when I make the new ones. The other thing I'm going to do today is clean up all this grease that was underneath these things, so I can start grinding all this down and sanding down all this fiberglass, prepping it for the new engine beds, and I'm going to fiberglass over everything else, just like I did for the fuel tank areas, except for the stringer areas. I'm going to really beat these up pretty good. There's a lot of areas where the limber holes are that need a lot of attention, so I'm going to be working on that. So this is what it looked like after I cleaned up all that grease, just with an initial cleanup, and then I went around with my oscillating saw and a blade and trimmed off all the sharp edges of the fiberglass. Alright, so it's been about 2 weeks since I removed those engine beds, and I haven't really done much to put a video together in those 2 weeks. So I figured I would just come over here quick before I put that together and show you what I've been up to for those 2 weeks. Alright, so since the engine beds were removed, I've got some other work done. This area back here in the aft area I had actually done before I did the engine beds, but you can see this area here that I talked about in the beginning. I did trim that off. I've got that all prepped. So the next move there is to make a template for the plywood I'm going to put in that area there. And I got that through hull out of there, and it's all prepped and ready to be fiberglassed when I'm ready to do it. Got the rest of this all sanded down, like everything I need to sand and grind. I don't want to call it grinding really, but it's mostly sanding. And it's all cleaned up nice. And then this is what I've got done on the engine bed side. So the whole thing's been sanded down and cleaned up. All the fiberglass has been cleaned up. All the kind of sketchy stuff has been sanded down and cleaned up. Still needs a good cleaning, scrubbing. There is some discoloration in the fiberglass. Some of that is old grease and things I still got to clean up, and some of it is just discoloration in the layers of fiberglass. But I've got everything ground down everywhere and cleaned up, and it did reveal issues mostly at the limber holes. Each one is kind of individually has issues in its own way, but all the wood is pretty good. But I'll get into that when I get into fixing all those. I'm going to fix all those first before I start fiberglassing everything. I want all those fixed up. And yeah, and then up here it's all done. So that's where I'm at here. It's April 30th, Saturday. What I'm going to do today actually is try to remove these. And that'll be probably in the next video. Yeah, those need some work. So I'll be working on those today. Hopefully I can get those out of there. And I'll let you know why and everything when that time comes. So I have made some progress, even though I haven't made a video. And I didn't film any of this grinding of this because it was just a really dusty mess. And so that's where we're at. Okay, so here's my sanding setup for grinding this fiberglass. Got my shop vac. It's kind of a small one. And I actually hook a hose up to the outlet of it and just run it off to the side with like a brush fitting on the end, and it kind of quiets it down. It almost acts like a muffler because it gets kind of noisy after a while, and I'm trying to keep the noise down here at the marina. I do have like earmuffs that I wear, so it doesn't bother me, but I don't want it to bother everybody else. So anyways, I got that hooked up to my Vortex deal here that I've shown before. That works really good. I actually was using filter bags in this, and I was filling them up really fast because they're not big. And I decided I better bring this thing over, and I haven't changed the bag in here since I've been using that, and I did most of the work with this, so it's paid off. It's a simple thing, but it works. And then the hose that comes off of that, and that's what I use to just suck up the grinding dust as best I can as I'm grinding. It's actually a drill, but it works great for grinding. And the reason why I prefer it over the grinder, which only has one speed, this I can control the speed by how hard I press the trigger, and that gives me a lot more control. I don't know what I'm doing. And I have a 3-inch quick release, quick lock, whatever, disc on there. I have smaller ones too I could use, but I use mostly those anyways. And those have worked great. And then I have my Dremel with a 90-degree fitting on there and those little drums to get in the corners. And that's worked really good too. I actually went on Amazon and got bags of these. And get 100 in a bag, and it actually comes with 2 extra drum things. The only thing I found with these, they're not glued together quite as good as the real Dremel ones. And they tend to pull apart sometimes. I can show you one here. Sometimes the thing comes off. If you can see that, I'll get my thumb out of the way in a second. I'm just trying to pry it out. You can see how it just comes off. And sometimes it actually flies right off, so I gotta wear safety glasses. So they're not quite as stout as the original Dremel ones, but they're a lot cheaper that way. Alright guys, well now that'll actually close this one out. Now I'll just remind you that this year I'm kind of not following any kind of schedule with video releases. I'm just gonna put them out there when I get some footage. You guys are right up to date, so when I get things done, I'll put them in a video and get them out there. The only consistency is going to be it'll be on a Thursday. So until the next video comes out, everyone take care, and we'll see you soon.